Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life in Croatia. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about why I left the UK and came to Croatia, of all places. Now, this isn't going to be the typical, I moved to Croatia because of the sea or something like that. No, there's a lot more to it than that. I'm going to give you a warning before watching this episode because it isn't going to be for everyone. There is a few scary concepts that are involved in this episode and stuff that I sort of believe in, but unless you're on the same level, you're not going to understand it. So if you easily get triggered or you don't like conspiracy theories, then perhaps this may not be an episode that you want to watch. Anyway, without further ado, let's get through to it. Right, so first of all, before jumping straight into it, for things to make sense, you need to understand a bit about my past, a bit about why Croatia, before I can explain further into why I moved here. Okay, so for those that don't know, my name is Dusan. I was born and bred in the UK, so I've lived my whole life in the United Kingdom. Croatia is somewhere that I go on holiday pretty much every year. Why? Because my family are originally from here. So I'll give you a brief history. On my dad's side, after World War II, my granddad left Croatia and he went to work in the mines in England. He was given, I think, £1 to start life there in England and built himself up to a point that he was kind of entrepreneurial, started up his own shop, which is quite interesting, and had many children, 6 in total. He married an English woman, and ever since he moved to the UK, he stayed there. Obviously travelled to and from Croatia a few times in his life. Not too sure how much, as unfortunately passed away before I could really be old enough to understand to ask him many questions about his life. From there, my dad was born. He was born in the UK, spent pretty much all his life there as well. During probably his 30s, similar to my age, or maybe a bit before, he'd obviously travelled to Croatia with his dad and fell in love with the country. So he had high hopes on kind of moving there one day. He works for the police force and he quit his job in order to move to Croatia at some point in his life. When he did bite the bullet and moved to Croatia, he met my mum there and he had high hopes on making a business there, selling jacket potatoes on the beaches. Unfortunately, this was during the start of the war in Yugoslavia, which was going to break everything apart and was obviously a lot bigger than everyone anticipated. So due to circumstances because of the war, as many of you will be aware, I won't go into the political side of things because I'm not here to say anything about one side or the other or trigger anyone in any kind of way. As Serbs, because we were Serbian Orthodox religion, we weren't able to stay in Croatia anymore. So from there, my dad and my mum got together. They went over to the UK to start new life there pretty much. For my mum didn't know any English when she kind of came over there, but she's again spent all her life there now post-war. Ever since the war though, my dad, he still hadn't given up on one day fulfilling his dream on moving to Croatia, which he's partially done now. He's mainly living here, but spends quite a bit of time in the UK as well. And my mum is pretty much in the UK. She's not really that interested in moving to Croatia because of all the bad memories, because of things not being the same way and it being too emotionally destructive for her. So you may be asking, okay, Dusan, you're a Serb, why would you want to just pack your bags from the UK, live in Croatia, where perhaps you may not be welcomed so much? When people from Croatia, the young people, they're all moving out. They're going to places like America, Germany, UK, Switzerland for a better life. Why would you move over here? Well, it comes down to a few things of why. I wasn't really exposed to any of the war thing. I was kind of very unaware. We lived in a very sort of British area of the United Kingdom and I wasn't really aware of any of my past when I was young. Didn't really understand any of it. Still to this day, haven't done enough research to fully understand what sort of happened fully. And I'd rather not dig into it. I'd rather not try and figure out who's wrong, who's right. Every year I really look forward to visiting my family. Most of them were in Serbia because of leaving Croatia as refugees and having to live in Serbia instead. So I did spend a lot of my years going there, and they were the happiest years of my life because I was spending time with family over there. And the family over there compared to the family in England, it was just two completely different cultures. And being exposed to two different cultures at a young age was one of the best things that has ever happened to me. No one who was just born in the UK, who's just British, realises different cultural differences. And, you know, the cousins and the people that were just exposed to the UK, you just started becoming a British person. You started having their behaviours, having their understandings on things, and not really understanding another side of life. Now, what I loved about my family in Serbia is that everyone was really close. Everyone was so giving, everyone was so caring, everyone was so loving. There was emotion. It was powerful. And when I was there, you know, nothing else mattered apart from spending time with my family. As, you know, time went by, I was just exposed to so many different things, you know, celebrations, religious events, communication, and how people got together and spent time together. You know, it was just completely different than it was in the UK. Now, when I sometimes try to replicate this in the UK with my friends or something, you know, my mum would always act one way with people that came over. You know, guests always be welcome, always be given everything, you know. They'd be fed, there'd be, you know, drinks flowing, all sorts. But then when, you know, people in the UK, you went round their houses and, you know, sometimes you wouldn't be offered anything, you wouldn't be offered a drink. You know, people would almost be tight about what they have and they wouldn't give you anything. And it was just completely different. And I kind of just saw those differences and just noted them down in my mind. You know, I didn't really speak out about them when I was young because, I don't know, you know, maybe I spoke about them to my mum to kind of try and understand things, or maybe I just thought that's just the way our family was. I wasn't really thinking that, you know, it was necessarily a cultural difference between Brits and, you know, Serbo-Croats or whatever. So many of you that have lived in Croatia or any parts of the Balkan region in some kind of time in your life, you'll kind of realise what I mean when it comes to kind of hospitality and family and friendship and stuff like that. Family is a big thing here. It's very important, and everyone sticks together and everyone bonds together and helps each other. It feels like in the UK, it's almost like it's every man for themselves, and it's jealousy whenever someone has something. And it's a little bit toxic. It's a bit toxic in my opinion. Sorry, I just had to quickly change camera. So anyway, as I was saying, as well as Serbia, I used to go to Croatia maybe every couple years. Being completely honest, when I was younger, I wasn't really too into it. And that's probably because when you're young, you know, you like people around you, you like to have fun. I was a very social person when I was young, and I just loved to have people around me. You know, I didn't get the whole thing when I came here, and there was just no one around. So obviously we were going on family holidays. We didn't really have that many relatives around at the time. You know, sometimes people would be visiting, and that would be nice. But other than that, you know, we would just go to the beach and just chill at the village house. As I got older though, my mind started changing. I started to realise the more and more time that, you know, I grew up in the UK, more time spent there, more time spent working there, I kind of came to the realisation that I just hated how busy everything was. I hated how many people there are everywhere, all the traffic all the time, all the noise. And to come to Croatia just to relax and get away from that all, just get away from everything, was an incredible feeling for me. And as I got older and older and, learn about the histories of my past, of my family's past, and, living here and stuff like that, the pull got stronger. It's almost like, how a bird just knows where to fly? That kind of instinct just came across me later down the line, and that was one of the reasons why I did come here. The pull that, my bloodline had been in this country for a very long time, and that I just got an instant feeling of home when I came to the mountains. Something that I just never felt in the UK, even though I lived there my whole life. Just the feeling that this place was my home. And even now, I've left UK, and I still don't, I don't associate the UK with my home. It was just somewhere that I've been brought up in and I spent my whole life in, but it never necessarily felt like I was returning home. So yeah, we've got two reasons there. We've got lifestyle, how people behave, how families are, how you get treated, how people are, all the social side of things that brought me to Croatia. We've also got the instinct side of me that brought me to Croatia, the thought that, this is where my family originally is from. Like, my bloodline is here for hundreds of years, and I feel something when I'm here. The pull to the areas, the mountains and everything brought me here. Originally, I am not from this area that I bought a house in. Originally, the family are from nearer to sort of the Grujic area, which that's where I spend most of my time. That's all I kind of knew around those areas. But just how everything is, how everything's relaxed. Here the safety is amazing. You feel safe. You can leave your door unlocked, no fear that someone's going to come in. People are leaving their car engines on with the key in and going to the bakery, or going to the cafe quickly to talk to someone. You would never do that in the UK. If you left your car running, the chances are very high that someone's going to jump in your car and drive off with it. It's just, and you would never ever leave your door open in England. You just wouldn't, because you just fear that someone's going to break into your house. And the amount of times that, during my work days where I had a fully loaded van with tools in, I'm not joking, my van got broken in 5 times, and this was in all different places, in my hometown, in Oxford it got broken into, somewhere else it got broken into, I can't remember where, but that was in broad daylight. And it just shows that the crime in England is just ridiculous, and it's getting worse and worse. This does bring me to the sad fact that I do think England is going to the dogs. Some people that live in England may feel triggered by this, but it's the truth. It's what I feel. I feel that England isn't what it used to be. I felt it was a great country maybe 10 years ago, but ever since then, all I feel from that country is prison. Now, for the people that haven't lived in another country and all they've done is live their whole life in England, they will never understand what I'm talking about. But for you that understand the feeling that you get from the Balkans and Croatia, for instance, the feeling of freedom is like nothing else I've felt. Just to be able to just drive without care, to have parties with people in your garden with no care, to just have more of a relaxed lifestyle and just not think too much into it. It's like, this is one of the main reasons that brought me here. The feeling of freedom. A feeling of freedom that we've all fought for in this region, Freedom is something that we hold very close to our hearts. And maybe it runs in the bloodline. Or maybe it's just a thing that is installed in everyone around here. But during the cough escapade, which I never bought into, I realised a lot. And I realised that I couldn't waste my time anymore in that country where it was pretty obvious that what is to come in the next few years is nothing but control. Control over every part of your life, like you wouldn't imagine. And now I don't know how clued up many of you are about what is to come or what is already being installed in these more up-to-date countries, let's say. The fear of CBDC, which is central bank digital currencies. You know, I won't bore you into it, but if any of you really know or understand cryptocurrency, this is the way of banks fighting back from it because they're scared of it. They don't want people to have control over their own finances. So what will they do? They'll get rid of cash. They'll put everything on the blockchain to be tracked. And they'll make the money that you all get in your pockets trackable and programmable. And what this means is that, say, if you've traveled too much this year, or if you've been a bad person, maybe you won't be able to jump on a plane, or maybe you won't be able to jump on public transport, or maybe you won't be able to buy certain things because they'll have control over your money. Now, it's a scary thing, but it's there, it's out there, it's on the internet. I know for some people, that actually understand this and know about this, they might say to me, well, you know, Dusan, that the euro is pretty high up on doing this kind of technology. And I understand that, and we've just got into the euro here in Croatia. But when I look at the standpoint of where we are here, everything is 20 years behind. And I can't see this kind of technology being put in anytime soon. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen quite a long time after it happens in the main countries, like the higher populated ones, let's just say. Now, if it does come to a point where this kind of technology gets brought into the likes of here, then maybe I might have to reconsider where I have to live. But for now, I think I feel safe here. There's also other things, such as the likes of 15-minute cities. Everything is controlled by the World Economic Forum, and I don't know if you've heard of them or if you know anything about them. But the World Economic Forum is basically trying to fight climate change in a way, and we're being the biggest target for that, for the fact of climate change. Now, I understand that perhaps climate change is happening, whether it's happening naturally or whether we're the cause of it is another story, and we'll never know because we just get told what they want us to know. So, okay, the whole climate change may be a problem, but they're going to be enforcing certain things. And there's been a rule passed in 2024 that's starting in Oxford. And the 15-minute city is something that will control people to the point where they stop using their cars, because this is what they want to try and do. They want to try and control you through not driving. So what is a 15-minute city, basically? 15-minute city is, if you have a look at it, it's basically cutting a place like Oxford up in 6 sections. And it almost feels like the Hunger Games, where you have all the things that you need in a 15-minute radius. Now, the thing is, if you leave your section of the city more than 100 times a year, you will get fined every day that you're out of it. And the fine is something like £70 a day. Now, that controls people from going outside of the city and travelling to places. So you are confined in this small section of the city, which is absolutely terrifying. And they're going to be trialling that out next year. So it's coming up close and it's coming up near. Now, when I think of here in Croatia as well, I can't imagine that ever happening. Could happen one day, who knows, but it's just not that populated enough for that to happen. So all I'm doing is slowing down certain things. Now, when the whole cough thing happened, I kind of realised that people weren't standing up. Not enough anyway. Not enough to make a change. And it just made me realise that there were so many people just abiding by the rules and just listening and just doing as they're told, and not enough people fighting against it. Now, because of this, I don't believe that people are going to fight against this next tyranny. And I feel that if we don't, we could lose our freedom forever. And it's sad because it almost does feel like at this point in time, we need to just not focus about individuals, about fighting against each other. This is pretty much a fight against good and evil. Now, there's other things being implemented, like, have you heard of the line? The line is something that's being made in Saudi Arabia. It's made to look like, basically, it's just a massive place that people can live. And it's pretty much based around the 15-minute city thing where no one's got a car. Everyone can jump on public transport and everything is 15 minutes away from where you need it. And it's made to look like an amazing thing, like a perfect place to be. But what comes to mind is that if you're not allowed a car and you're in the desert and you're in this big city, which is a line, how do you get out? How do you just drive out of this? How do you drive out of the desert? You can't. Now, okay, flights may be regular, but what if one day they just say, no more flights? Then what do? You're stuck. You're stuck there. So if people can't drive, people lose their freedom. Now, if everything's put on a social credit system, where, like in China, if you're a good person, then you can use normal transports and stuff like that. But if you do things wrong, or if you say something wrong on social media, or if you do anything that's deemed as wrong by the puppet masters, then you may not be able to jump on that train, or you may not be able to use that public transport. You may not be able to go on holiday or fly somewhere. And it's a very scary thing. Now, I know that this is a very different kind of conversation that you probably were expecting to come from me when I talk about why I moved to Croatia. The realistic thing is that I saw things coming, but I didn't think they'd be here this quick. And it's scary. It's honestly scary. Now, I won't go into detail about everything that I've talked about right now. If you do want to learn more about it, then I suggest you search it up yourself. But these things I'm talking about aren't conspiracy theories. They're real. They're very real. Some things may have not happened yet, but it's funny how many things that were called a conspiracy theory, when that certain thing came out, that certain thing turned out to be true, what people were saying. Now, away from that kind of depressive side of it, there is also a few other things that contribute to why I moved here. Obviously, I can't really say the sea, even though the sea is a good thing, but because the sea is all around us in England, and the sea is actually quite beautiful in England, but I never really went there because the weather is always temperamental bad. So, better weather here, I enjoy that because I do like sun and it does elevate my happiness. So for me, being where the sun shines is something that is important to me. Food is also a big thing. Again, I don't want to be kind of negative, but I feel that food in England just isn't food. So I was always having massive stomach issues every day. Now, as soon as I come to Croatia and start eating the food, those stomach problems just kind of go away. Now, this could be two different things. This could be because of my genetic code that, it's used to the diet here in Croatia. Or it could be that the quality of food in England is all fake. It's not real. It's not real nutrition. Whereas here, everything is nutrient dense. And it's all good quality food, which it is. You can totally taste the difference. So food is a big thing. Air quality, peace. I just love peace. I love living in this village because I just love peace. I just don't want a ton of people around me. I just want to be, as weird as it sounds, left alone but have things at arm's reach if I want it. So for me, if I want to travel to the nearest city, it's 20 minutes away, things like that, that's at arm's reach for me, and it's not a problem. I don't want to live in a city. I would never want to live in a city. I lived in a town which are called a small town in the UK, which has got more than 100,000 people. Now, in some places in Europe, 100,000 people isn't a small town, but that's what it's kind of claimed to be. And you live in a row of houses, you've got no kind of privacy, you can't really do your own things, you're kind of glued, all houses are kind of glued together. It's not the same. I'll also mention that the people that I've met here, I didn't really meet many people through the times I did come to Croatia, but when I did come here once, but on my own, I did come across another kind of Croatian guy, and honestly, I don't think I've met anyone as kind of giving as this person is that I kind of met, and how positive and just an amazing person, this Croatian guy. And I'll be real with you, I'll be real in the fact that, post-war, when people moved to England or people moved wherever, because they'd never come back, those feelings were always stuck inside. The feelings of fear, the feelings of hatred. And, when I came here, I was scared to kind of tell people my name, because I didn't want to be looked at as like a bad person just because of who I am. And I was scared of that. But, I met quite a few Croatian people, and I can honestly say that they are some of the best people I've met. This time mainly, the time that I've spent with some of these Croatian people has been like amazing. Some good, great quality people that I would never have found in England, for instance. They beat them hands down. And, that gives me hope that people have moved past all this crap. I've met some people around here that also you can tell that haven't necessarily moved past everything and maybe treat me in a different way, but it is what it is, and I can't do anything to change that. I can only be who I am. I can only be positive to everyone around me. I can only treat everyone the same way as I treat anyone else. And if they treat me in a different way, then that's up to them. And if they do treat me in a different way, then I don't need you in my life. It's as simple as that. But if you're going to take me on face value, take me as a person rather than look behind everything and see that I may be a different religion or maybe a different culture or whatever, then that's just your shot. That's most things in a nutshell. I come from a place which just felt like a jail, that you're working constantly, you're coming back, you're earning money, and you're going to pay off a house for the rest of your life. You're going to eat bad quality food, you're going to meet bad quality people, you're going to be stabbed in the back. You're going to live a life in the rain, and you're just going to look forward to that one holiday a year, to a point where you can live in a place that the houses are affordable. That, in my eyes, there's plenty of opportunity here. Okay, the bureaucracy is difficult. It is difficult, I'll admit that. But everything can't be perfect. A place that you can relax, unwind, have peace, have good people around you, eat good food, have good air to breathe, have amazing nature around you, go for a swim in the sea, have coffee with friends in a beautiful city. And just be sort of a local hub. You can drive around Europe. People are just more relaxed here. People don't live for work. People live to live. People love life. They want to spend time enjoying. It's not all about money here. Right, so guys, I think I've covered most things here. Thanks for watching. I hope that I haven't scared some of you. I hope that I haven't triggered some of you. Probably some have, but I'm just going to be honest, because what's the point of being dishonest? I'm just going to say what I think. That's what my channel's about. I'm not just going to coat things over and talk some BS just because it's going to please people. No, I've done that my whole life, and it's time to be more real. It's time to talk about what I want to talk about. And for those who do want to follow me and listen to what I'm talking about, then follow me. For people that, dislike what I say, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to watch my stuff. I'm just putting it out there because I just feel like people need to be aware of certain things. And I hope that one day we can all stand together for the greater good. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next episode.